Hello, everybody. We are at 2 minutes past, so let's get going with today's Scomathon coffee break. And it's a good one we have for you today. We're talking to you about Azure Stack HCI, which is the management pack from the SCOM product team. And we're going to get deep with Bhavna from the SCOM product team. So let's dig in. Before we do that, just to say, as always, if you have any questions, feel free to ask them in the Q&A sections in GoToWebinar. But as always, we run everything on Slack as well. So you can ask questions at any point in Slack and we'll get them either during the webinar or afterwards if they occur to you afterwards. So all you need to do is go to scomathon.com/Slack to join. So on with the meat of the show. Firstly, just to quickly introduce myself. So I'm Bruce Cullen, I'm the Director of Products at Cookdown, and you're probably sick of hearing from me already, so let me introduce my guests. Bhavna is the Product Manager for SCOM, one of the product managers for SCOM within the SCOM Product Group, and is going to be our guest for today, talking to us about Azure Stack HCI. Bhavna, are you there?
Yes, hi Bruce. Hi everyone. Looking forward to this session.
Perfect. Great to have you with us. All right, let's dig in then. So just to sort of do a bit of scene setting, really, the first thing that we get to really explain is what Azure Stack HCI is. So I guess traditionally, you would have had a bunch of your machines running in Azure and another bunch of your machines on-prem running on physical hardware, and they would have been entirely separate, managed entirely independently from each other. And you would have had to manage your on-prem VMs entirely separately, and ultimately there was no route to cloud for you, no easy route to cloud for you. With Azure Stack HCI, you restore Azure Stack HCI, Azure Stack on your on-prem machines, and then they can be managed sort of holistically all together as if they're all cloud machines. And the idea is it makes cloud transitions in the hybrid scenario a lot easier, which is great because let's face it, that's the world in which we work these days. So that's the gist. And the management pack we're going to be talking about today is all about monitoring this scenario and this world. So without further ado, more or less, I'm going to hand over to Bhavna to take us through the management pack. So if I hand over to you, off you go.
Great, thanks Bruce. Hi everyone. My name's Bhavna Appayya and I'm part of the System Center Operations Manager product group in Microsoft. Happy to take you over some of the details of our brand new Azure Stack HCI management packs that we have released. I think it's been about a week and a half since we went GA. So I think the idea of today's session is to kind of give you an overview or highlights of the key features of the management packs that we have created for Azure Stack HCI. And then we have a short pre-recorded demo that hopefully Bruce is able to play as well. And post that, we can take up any questions you might have and see how we can help with that or any other feedback you might have around these management packs, right? All right. So to begin with, Azure Stack HCI as a platform is kind of an industry shift for us, where we see more and more on-prem data centers shifting to HCI from traditional environments. So Microsoft as a whole, we believe that customers will be interested in using Azure Stack HCI OS on their host servers. So like Bruce touched upon before this, the very basic definition of HCI is that it combines compute and storage into like a single box, which means more cost savings for our customers. The underlying hardware, of course, is still the same, but the common targets running on HCI will be the ones, say, running on an Hyper-V host, for example, like the SCOM agent running there. One thing to keep in mind is the HCI does not include the database software like say the SQL Server or web server software, etc. They are not supposed to run on Azure Stack HCI. This will run in the guest VMs running on top of the HCI fabric. And that's why the goal of this Azure Stack Management Pack is kind of tweaked towards some of these scenarios, right? Um, so to begin with, the management packs that we've created as of today support the 21H2 and 20H2 versions of Azure Stack HCI OS. They are designed to work for SCOM 2019 UR3, that is update rollup 3 or later versions. As some of you might be aware, SCOM 2022 is coming out in a few days, literally. So everything from 2019 UR3 and above, the management pack should be compatible with. Now, the new management packs will bundle the following capabilities, and I'll touch upon each of these a bit in the following slides. So the first one being the base Azure Stack HCI OS. This is your base MP. Then you have the Hyper-V scenarios in HCI, the storage spaces direct, that is the S2D MP, software defined network, the SDN MP, and the HCI clusters related monitoring scenarios that are covered in the cluster management MP. So I've put in links in these slides, and if you want to access the actual downloads which are available in the download center, I think post the call, Bruce might be able to share that as well.
Yeah, we'll
All right.
share all of the links and details after the webinar. Yeah.
Okay, great. Thanks, Bruce. So shall we go to the next slide? Great, thank you. So this is the Azure Stack HCI base OSMP, the core OSMP for Azure Stack HCI monitors. Basically, the performance, health, and availability of the Azure Stack HCI server operating systems. So aspects of critical and required services like, say, the disk managers, servers, workstations, storage drivers, network adapters, etc., are checked for connection health and availability. We've also included the standard performance indicators for processors, the memory related counters, and logical disks are also checked. The focus is on logical disks here, but I think it can be tweaked to further do some monitoring support for physical disks as well if required. On your right hand side, if you could see, I'm not sure if this is very clear, but it should be clear in the demo. You see an Azure Stack HCI folder that is created in the left side of the screenshot, and then under that we have different folders, and the first folder that is expanded here shows you all the dashboards that are available in the base OS MP for Azure Stack HCI, and you'll get a bit of a flavor of this in the demo as well. But yeah, this is the base OS MP. Okay, if we could go to the next slide, Bruce. Yeah, thanks. So the next MP is the Hyper-V management pack. So this is to monitor some of the critical services to ensure that the health of the Hyper-V role, which is one of the important roles in HCI, is working fine. So the critical services would include networking and storage components, say for example. Then this management pack would also enable you to monitor events that result in some errors for virtual machines, or you would be able to monitor the configuration of hosts that are using the Microsoft Remote FX technology. And also you would be able to monitor the availability and configuration of hosts that are using the Microsoft Hyper-V replication technology. So virtual machine replication related scenarios are also supported for HCI. And again, in the screenshot, you see under the root Azure Stack HCI folder, there is a subfolder for the Hyper-V management pack if you decide to import it and install it, and all of the dashboards that you can see in the operations console as well. One thing I forgot to mention earlier was that you don't necessarily have to import all of the management packs. So it could be that maybe, for example, you do not have SDN workloads that you want to monitor in your HCI landscape, and you only have, say, S2D or cluster related scenarios for HCI clusters that you want to monitor. In that case, you can choose to import only that particular management pack, and you don't have to import the entire bundle that is available, right? Okay, so if we could go to the next slide, Bruce. This is the S2D MP. So this is the storage spaces direct management pack. This involves the monitoring for storage pool and storage node related scenarios. So you would be able to monitor, again, the health performance data is collected, and all of the alerts on the fault events, say for example for the storage pool, would be available. The S2D management pack supports again monitoring or the health and performance data collection of physical disk of servers from the cluster in this case, and also supported by the management pack is the monitoring of health and performance counters of the CSVs in a cluster, that is the cluster shared volumes, among other things like cluster quorum and networks, etc. So on the right hand side in the screenshot, again, you see the dashboards that are available for each of these under the storage spaces direct folder. Right, this is the software defined network management pack. So this management pack helps you monitor the SDN infrastructure components and tenant resources on computers that are running Azure Stack HCI. So one of the main things we've added here also is that there is support for more than one network controller. So the network controller monitors now includes checks to be able to support more than one network controller, and it would have all of the availability related checks. So for example, for the ports, etc., that are needed by them. There is gateway monitoring included. So things like virtual network monitors, gateway pool monitors, virtual gateway monitors, among other aspects, are all supported in the HCI related scenarios. Right. One thing to keep in mind here is we recommend that when you use the Azure Stack HCI SD and MP, if you are also using the Windows Server SD and MP, do make sure in the same environment, that is, do make sure that you upgrade or install the latest version of the Windows Server SD and MP. We've published an update for that. So for the best experience, it would be good to make sure your Windows Server SD and MP is fully updated to the latest release as well. Right? Okay, so go to the next slide. Yeah, and this is the last component of the Azure Stack HCI management pack in terms of the feature support. So this is the cluster management pack. And so this MP covers monitoring aspects where possible issues with starting the cluster service or connectivity between cluster nodes are identified. Things like the ADDS settings that could affect the cluster, for example, permissions needed by the computer account that is used by the cluster, alerts around that are taken care of as well. If there are issues with the domain name system, they would be flagged, and monitoring availability of a cluster resource and storage of the cluster are also covered, right? So again, in the screenshot, you can see the cluster management folder and all of the dashboards that are included in this particular management pack for HCI as well.
Perfect. So that is where we're going to jump into a quick demo. So I'm going to show a video in just a second, just to say on questions. There's some good questions coming in via the Q&A. Do keep those coming in. I'll come to those at the end, but they may be answered during the video. So I'm now hopefully going to share the video and then we'll come back for some more slides and Q&A. So
the new SCOM Management Pack for Azure Stack HCI provides health, performance, and usage insights about registered Azure Stack HCI clusters and related scenarios. In this demo, we pick up from where Molish left off. That is, VMM was used to create HCI nodes and clusters, and now we will see how the new SCOM Management Pack can help in monitoring them. First, we begin by importing the HCI MPs into SCOM. You can choose to use all or some of these MPs based on your requirements and workloads. The first version of the Azure Stack HCI MP will be a logical grouping of the following management packs, namely HCI, Base OS MP, Cluster Management MP, Hyper-V MP, Software Defined Networking MP, and Storage Spaces Direct Management Packs. For the purpose of this demo, I'm going to import all these management packs, starting with the Base OS Management Pack. Let's get this installed. And then followed by the Cluster Management Pack, followed by the importing of the Hyper-V Management Pack, and then the SDN Management Pack, and lastly, the Storage Spaces Direct Management Pack. You will be prompted with the necessary corrective actions that you can take to address any issues or dependencies discovered by SCOM while importing these management packs. Now that the management packs have been imported successfully, let's take a look at them on the left-hand side monitoring pane. This looks good. So let's now dig into some of the dashboards of these management packs. As you can see here in the Base OS dashboards, one can view the HCI details similar to what we had for the Windows Server OS. Here, for example, the OS and services are checked for status. You can also view all associated details. Everything looks healthy here. Next, we can see the health of the cluster shared volume that is accessible for all cluster nodes at the same time and managed in an automated mode. In the performance dashboard, we also see the network adapter utilization across the different nodes. Network adapters are monitored for aspects like number of bytes received, sent per second. In addition, the health state of the network adapter is evaluated and is set to healthy if connected and critical if disconnected. Also, aspects like disks are monitored and performance data is collected for average disk seconds per reading, per write, per transfer, etc. Next, let's jump into the cluster management related MP. It monitors cluster services and components such as nodes, networks, resources, and resource groups. This helps to report issues that can cause downtime or poor performance. Then we have the Hyper-V Management Pack. This monitors the Hyper-V role on HCI. It includes views for monitoring the virtual machines and their components running on the host computers, amongst other aspects. Then we have all the monitoring view and dashboards for the SDN and S2D MPs as well. In the interest of time, I will not go into details of all these dashboards. But for example, in the S2D MP, you can monitor health performance data and raise alerts for the fault events of disks, storage nodes, and storage pools, as you see here. By detecting, alerting on, and automatically responding to critical events and performance indicators, these management packs will reduce resolution times for issues and increase the overall availability and performance of your Azure Stack HCI environment. If you are interested in trying out the preview of this management pack, please do sign up in the link below.
Okay, just a quick disclaimer, since it's a pre-recorded video, the preview sign up is not applicable anymore since we are in GA and you have full access to each of those MPs if you want to try it out.
Even better, even better. Perfect. Cool. Thank you for that. That's great. I'm going to keep clicking through. There's a few more slides.
Yes. Yeah. So just a few miscellaneous topics to cover and to keep in mind when you import the MP and some of the prerequisites and a few known issues to bring to your attention. So first we have this slide about importing the Azure Stack HCI MPs into your environment. So you would need to ensure that the common library management pack is imported prior to importing of the main MSI for that particular MP which you decide to use. This is, I think, pre-packaged and taken care of, so you don't have to worry too much about going out of your way and finding the MP, but just calling this out in any case. And in terms of the order in which you want to import the MPs, you can just decide to follow the built-in order that we have for these downloadable files, and if you, I think, follow the screen as and when it prompts you, it should all be fine. And if you could go to the next slide, Bruce. Yeah, thanks. So there could be two scenarios in which you decide to use the Azure Stack HCI management pack, right? So one could be that you have an existing Windows Server related setup in your environment, and you also then have the HCI landscape side by side. So in this case, it could be that on the same SCOM deployment or SCOM installation, you would have Windows Server management packs, say for example for SDN, and as well as the Azure Stack HCI management pack for SDN. So some of the things to keep in mind in that case is what this slide kind of elaborates on. If you don't have any Windows Server management packs installed in your SCOM landscape where you decide to use the HCI management packs, then you can skip the override management pack, which would be imported, which would need to be imported as well. Everything should work fine. But if you do have existing Windows Server management packs, like I gave the example of SDN or of the storage spaces direct MP or a Hyper-V MP, then in that case, you must import the override management pack that is bundled with the Azure Stack HCI features, right? And of course, what then could happen is while the override management packs do remove the Azure Stack HCI resources from appearing in the Windows MP discoveries in the future after they are installed, it could be that some of your older inventory still appears. So if you want to clean that data, we recommend using the PowerShell commandlet so that they will not be, so they will be automatically removed from the earlier discovered inventory as well. And then I think everything should be fine. So this is mainly the thing about the override management packs. And I think lastly, there's a slide on known issues. Bruce, if we could switch to that. Yeah, thanks. So we are aware of two known issues that seem to come up in some cases. So in some scenarios in the base OS MP and sometimes in the cluster MP, we have seen the Azure Stack HCI computers appearing in the Windows Server management packs. We've recognized the root cause of the issue and are working towards fixing it. But I think this might be something you could face. So just keep this in mind in some cases. And also the workflows are duplicated for the Azure Stack HCI computers because both the HCI and Windows Server workflows will run on all Azure Stack HCI resources. So in some cases, this could create duplicate alerts. Again, a known issue that we are working towards addressing, hopefully in the next release or update that we come out with for the HCI MP. So other than this, I think I've pretty much covered everything I had on my agenda. Bruce, so over to you.
All right, thank you very much for that. There's some great questions coming in via Q&A, but before we get to those, I'm just going to quickly whip through a few last things. Just a quick word from our sponsors, who are Cookdown, who make code-free integrations for SCOM, and our main solution is Connection Center, which is all about connecting SCOM to whatever you want to connect it to, from ITSM tools like ServiceNow and Sharewell to raise incidents, through to notification platforms like Teams and Slack, but ultimately anywhere you like via the power of webhooks. We also let you raise SCOM alerts from any system that will push alerts and events via webhook into SCOM, so you can make SCOM the center of your monitoring universe and your tooling landscape. Everything you need to know is at cookdown.com, where you can get a free trial and a demo as well. And our second sponsor is SquaredUp, the not so secret source for SCOM success. I'm sure a bunch of you guys will be familiar with SquaredUp already, but they do awesome dashboards for SCOM and beyond, bringing together vital information from all of your tools. All right, now that's over with, let's go to Q&A. So before I go and start to read out the questions, there are a few extra people to make panelists so they can talk. These are a few folk from the SCOM product team. Let's see. I have got Tanish. Tanish is up, so Tanish is now hopefully a panelist, so he can talk. And so let's go through the questions that have come in via Slack. So starting with, does the agent have to be installed on all the nodes? Is the first question. Who wants to take that one?
So are you talking about the HCI nodes in this case?
I'll wait for Samir
right?
to comment, but I would believe the answer is going to be yes to that. Yes, yes.
Yeah. If those are the nodes you're referring to, then yes. Like
yes.
How it works for all standard management packs here.
Makes sense. So then the next question is, does SCOM have to be installed inside the cluster, or can it monitor a cluster that runs on Azure Stack HCI without being inside it?
Yeah, it can run without being installed inside the cluster. It would need to be connected to the cluster, but yeah, that should not be a problem.
Makes sense. Can the MP also monitor AKS on HCI?
I'm afraid not, but maybe you could elaborate a bit more on the AKS scenario. What exactly would you be looking at in terms of support here?
We'll see if the person that answered that question can clarify. It sounds like a possible feature request, I guess, then. I'll just give who put that. Samir was the person who put that question in. So if you could clarify, I'll send more questions later, Samir says. All right, I'll move on to the next one in the short term. Will Azure Stack HCI MP work with SCOM 2016?
Well, I mean, we've not tested it, right? And so we have tested it with 2019 update rollup 3, and like I said, the later versions, which will be coming out soon. But we don't. You could try it. Maybe it works, but at least in terms of support, we would not be able to address 2016. So we would encourage you to upgrade to SCOM in any case, especially with 2022 coming out soon with some great new features.
Yeah, looking forward to hearing about that. So essentially, SCOM 2019 upwards will be supported. Perfect. Next question then. Is it possible to monitor mail flow with an on-prem SCOM Exchange Combo and a separate Azure environment without a hybrid connection between the two environments?
Oh, is this an HCI question? This seems like
It doesn't seem like a
some.
HCI
Could you?
question to me. We may need
Yeah.
clarification. It doesn't seem
Could
like a
you
HCI
repeat the
question.
question again, Bruce?
I certainly can. Is
Just
it
so I
possible to monitor
understand.
mail flow with an on-prem SCOM Exchange and a separate Azure environment without a hybrid connection between the two environments? To me, that I'm guessing that's an M365 MP question, not a
Yeah.
HCI question, but you may be able to answer it anyway. Let's see. That's my guess anyway.
Yeah, maybe, I don't know. Tanish, would you be able to help with that?
Just can you share the question once again, actually, because the scenario that hybrid scenario that there is no hybrid connection between the on-prem and the service, correct?
Yeah, essentially.
Can we answer this offline? Means you have to look into this in little detail, actually, because right now I cannot answer this question.
No worries.
But
It's sort of technically out of scope, so that's okay, no problem. We'll move on. Let's see. Will the MPs work for S2G running on Server 2019 is the next question.
S2D Windows Server 2019. So we have a separate Windows Server S2D MP, right? And that will work on 2019. If you want to monitor HCI while you have the Windows Server S2D MP installed on, say, the same SCOM instance, that should work, yes.
Makes sense. Perfect. How do you discover the cluster is the next question.
So we have the standard discoveries in the MP. So if you're asking about a technical implementation, is that the question?
That
Or
is literally all I've got. How do you discover the cluster? I mean, I was expecting your answer. So, I mean, there'll be discoveries in the MP that will discover it. So you don't need to worry about how I would guess, unless there's a additional clarity that will help answer that question.
yeah, so we have a standard MP file that will contain the definitions and discoveries used for the Azure Stack HCI cluster service management. So we've taken care of that aspect. If you do find that it's not discovering all the clusters or erroneously discovering a wrong cluster, then do let us know. We could investigate that further.
Perfect. I think that's the last question. Let's just have a quick look on Slack and just check there's nothing lurking I have missed. And there is nothing on Slack. So that is the last question. So unless there are any final questions from anyone out there, that's it. So all that's left to do is to say thank you very much, Bhavna, for being willing to join me today for today's coffee break. And thank you to all of you for attending. Hopefully we'll be joined next time by somebody from the SCOM product team to talk about something else that might be going on that will be interesting and exciting, just dropping a few subtle hints without saying exactly what it is. So we do look forward to seeing you then. There is one final question about when will the recording of this be available. As always, they'll be available on our YouTube channel a few days after the recording has been edited and the event has finished. So do expect the recording, and we also write up all of our coffee break webinars in blog form, and they'll be on scomathon.com. So that's all there is to say. Thank you very much, Bhavna, and all the SCOM product team for being involved today, and to all of you for attending. And until next time, thank you very much.
Great. Thanks,
Goodbye.
Bruce. Thanks, everyone. Bye.
Bye all.
thank you, everyone.